What makes a game series? As uninteresting and frankly kind of depressing of an answer as it may be, what it might ultimately come down to is the IP, the intellectual property, the set of names, logos, and designs that are copyrighted and used with permission to create a product. Authorship in video games is a complicated matter. We like to think of games as more than just products. I certainly do. Video game publishers, however, sometimes make it really hard for me to treat them as such. You know what this video is about, you clicked it. Why the fuck is Crash Badsh a Crash game? You probably already know this, but for the sake of clarity, Crash Badsh is the first game in the series produced by a studio other than the original creators of Crash Bandicoot, Naughty Dog. Instead, it was made by Eurocom, of Tarzan fame. I've already covered 2 post-Naughty Dog Crash games at this point, Wrath of Cortex and Twinsanity. Whoa, this one has a lot of views, as well as the first 2 games Naughty Dog developed after leaving the franchise behind. You can go watch those later, but for now what's important to establish is Crash Badsh was the first one, and while Wrath and Twinsanity both followed certain series conventions and tried to keep the ball rolling to varying degrees of success, Crash Badsh is something else entirely. It's not even trying to be a proper sequel to Crash Warp. What it is a party game. There's nothing wrong with that. Big game franchises usually have spin-offs. Is it a Crash party game though? Does it feel like Crash? Or is it just a party game with a Crash skin? Well, let's play the game already. Hey, subscribe and shit. Also comments. Alright, it's a party then. And how can it be a party if there's only one person? It can't, I'm pretty sure. So I called a couple of my schizophrenic friends over to play with me. Thanks for subjecting yourselves to this, by the way. Anyway, party game apparently means shitty minigame collection, and I think we only call it that because that's what Mario Party is. Unlike Mario Party, this game has a so-called adventure mode, and this is what we'll be playing today. We can play the minigames by themselves, and I feel like this was the mode the developers expected players to spend the most time on. But why play shitty minigames if we can play shitty minigames with context? We get warp rooms with plenty of levels like in Crash 2 and Warped, but more importantly we get a story. Well, I guess technically it counts as a story. There are like people talking and shit. Crash was never about the narrative, but Naughty Dog was actually trying to do some world building and expand on the characters and keep some sort of a sense of continuity and consistency. Anyway, forget about all that. I bitched about the story in Wrath of Cortex. Crash Badsh makes Wrath of Cortex look like Lord of the Rings in terms of both content and presentation. First of all, everyone sounds like shit. And by everyone I mean Uka Uka and Aku Aku. Neither of the original voice actors is here. Instead, they're both played by the same guy and I don't really know him, so I can't really say whether or not he's a good actor in general. But you can tell right away these are not the voices from Warped and CTR.
This bickering can go on no longer. We must resolve this once and for all time.
For once, feeble brother, I agree with you.
Voice actors changed over the course of the Crash series. That's not a problem by itself, but it sounds more like he's doing a mediocre impression than a new take on the characters, and it sounds off. No one in the game other than Aku Aku and Uka Uka has any real lines besides grunts, and even those were all either taken from other games or presumably recorded in a single take by whoever they happened to find around the office that was willing to do it. So Cortex won't be swooping in to save the cutscenes as it did in Wrath. Wouldn't be Clancy Brown or Lex Lang, so I doubt it would have helped anyway. Even the narrator from the company logo sounds like a really bad impression of the one from the Naughty Dog games.
Sony Computer Entertainment America presents.
This should be the first sign of things to come. Seems like Naughty Dog took the budget with them when they left. Anyway, Uka Uka is an asshole because that's his thing. Evil must prevail and good is bad and all that, so both masks decide to settle things once and for all. I'm sure that'll last. Aku Aku, the good one, asks something about some ancients that keep them from fighting directly against one another, despite this having happened already. And so they decide to summon a bunch of Crash characters and also this stupid fucking monkey to have him fight instead. Aku Aku literally goes no fair and snatches Tiny and Dingle to his side, so both teams are composed of 4 players. And that's it. That's the story. The great battle is going to be fought in the form of crappy minigames. Well, for adventure mode the maximum number of players is 2, and they'll compete against 2 other CPU players for each level. I let my friends choose the characters and obviously one of them chose the stupid monkey, Rillaru, that's here for no reason. So, welcome to the first warp room. It contains 4 levels and a boss fight. Beat the 4 levels to unlock the boss, beat the boss to unlock the next warp room. So basically the same as Crash 2 and Warped, but one less level and instead of nice well-designed and well-balanced platforming challenges, it's all very simple minigames. At least they're all different from one another, and I say they're all at least entertaining for now. The first level is kinda like a very weird air hockey game with metal balls. The 4 players each occupy one side of the square arena and can only move in 2 directions. Balls are shot randomly and we have to keep them from getting past us, while trying to force them past the opposite team. If the counter of one of the characters up top reaches 0, the player blows up and dies. In real life. Well, not really. A team loses if both players die. We get this shockwave move we can perform by pressing a square that makes the ball go faster. It's surprisingly fun.
Team 1 wins.
Good. Let's move on.
3, 2, 1, go.
Game? Why are we playing this again? What's that? Oh. The game says it's because fuck you, do it 3 times. We need 4 trophies to unlock the boss fight for this warp room. As it turns out, to earn a trophy, we have to win each game in a best 3 out of 5. Why? Because padding. Okay, whatever, the minigame is fun enough, I don't mind it that much. Next.
3, 2, 1, go.
This is also a pretty good one. We're all on top of an ice platform and riding tiny polar bears. The objective is to push the opposite team off. There's a forward dash move that can help us push or get to more favorable positions. And the little robot thing floating around occasionally shoots down a beam of light that gives whoever touches it a power up. Either a lightning bolt that'll stun the enemy team for a few seconds, plenty of time to push them both off, or a giant weight that'll crush whoever has it after a few seconds. Touching another player will transfer the power to them, so if we have the lightning bolt, we're supposed to run away until it triggers. And if we have the weight, we have to try to transfer it to someone on the opposite team on time. The AI is pretty incompetent right now, but they're surprisingly good at avoiding the weight for some reason. Reaching the edge of the platform will cause a character to do one of those funny old cartoon animations where they're trying to keep their balance, and we can get back onto the platform by spamming square. Again, best 3 out of 5 and we're out of here. This next one is a bit of a mixed bag, to be honest. I don't exactly hate it, but I wouldn't describe it as action-packed. One of my test subjects absolutely detests it, and I feel like overall it's one of the least popular minigames. It takes place on a grid and each character is riding a pogo or springs or whatever the fuck this thing coming out of the bottom half of the monkey is. But basically we move one square at a time and paint each tile we step on a certain color. Breaking these purple boxes that show up will increase our score by the number of tiles of our color and erase them. That's pretty much it. The arrows color all tiles in the direction they're pointing to, and the missiles can be shot at other players to temporarily stun them. It's not fantastic, but I don't mind this game. Finally, another decently fun one. It takes place in an arena, and the objective here is to eliminate the opposite team by beating the shit out of them with stone blocks. Sounds good, right? And it kind of is. Very simplistic, but fun. We can jump, pick up and throw crates, and use a melee attack. Picking up fruit recovers health, but not by much. Nitro crates explode on contact, as in the main series, and TNT blows up after 3 seconds. Both deal a lot more damage than the regular blocks. This one was my favorite as a kid.
Well done. You have completed the challenges that have been set for you in this warp room. To progress to the next set of games, you must defeat the mighty Papu Papu.
Thanks, Aku Aku. That's about the extent of story we'll get after the intro cutscene. With all 4 minigames complete, we can move on to the boss. It's a familiar face, Papu Papu, the fat native chief guy who was the first ever Crash Bandicoot boss back in the original game. I remember not having that easy of a time beating him as a kid, but I'm really not sure why. I probably sucked a lot because he's very easy. Not as easy as in Crash 1, but still. He uses the controls of the block throwing minigame. He makes tiles flip in damaging patterns and summons little crashes with red pants for whatever reason. I don't really think anyone thought this through. Maybe they were there as placeholders and someone was supposed to change them to some native minions or something, and that just never happened. Just more evidence of the huge amount of care that went into this game. Anyway, after a few, let's call them smashes. After we beat a few of them up, Papu Papu's unexplained flame shield goes down and we can throw a block at him. Whoa, I expected this to take 3 hits like most Crash bosses, but Well, never mind. That was kind of funny to be fair. This is not a bad fight. It's simple and easy, but I usually give first bosses a pass when it comes to that. There's no plot reason at all for this guy to be here, but it's cool that they even bothered to make bosses for this game, and that helps with the concept of an adventure mode. God knows it needs all the help it can get. And that's it for Warp 1. These are a lot more complex than Mario Party minigames, to be fair, and there are what? 4 per warp room? And there should be 5 warp rooms? That's like 20 totally different minigames. Maybe this won't suck that much after all. That's just the same game again. So yeah, let's just end the charade already. The games are all variations of the same few. This one in particular just adds a magnet that we can use to hold on to the balls and launch them later. Other than that, it's just level 1 again, which is okay. I do like that minigame, but we sort of already beat it 3 times. I'd rather have something different. Nice, trophy. Let's move on. So this warp room has 5 levels. 4 of them are just slightly modified versions of levels from the first room, and 1 is entirely new. The ice platform level now has no guardrails, but it's not like that makes much of a difference. The platform also tilts. The pogo level now has a gimmick where encircling areas with your color will color all tiles inside, but that also doesn't change much. Finally, the block throwing arena now has floor tiles that'll break when nitro or TNT crates explode. Falling in naturally means death. This one actually adds a layer of strategy to the minigame, which I appreciate. Getting the trophy is still really easy though. The new minigame is a tank battle. Exciting, right? Well, it certainly sounds better than it is. The controls are really awkward. The camera is fixed and movement works as you would expect. The tank just goes in whatever direction we hold. The thing is, this is basically a really slow and sluggish twin stick shooter, without the stick. Sure, you can play this with a DualShock, but it's not like the right stick works for anything in any PS1 game. Instead, the shoulder buttons rotate the turret. We can shoot and we can lay Bomberman bombs. Different characters have different projectiles that vary in speed and how strong they are, as well as how many can be on screen at a given time. The awkward controls would make this really hard if not for the fact that the AI has a tendency to blow itself up with its own bombs and projectiles that bounce off walls. I don't like this one very much, but I like the generic military tune that plays here. Well, despite the varying level of quality of the minigames and the repetition, this has been very easy so far. We'll be done with this game in 2 hours at this pace. I don't know why people complain so much about it, to be honest. Oh god fucking damn it. Well, here comes the real padding. Trophies, the basic collectible we get from beating the minigames, are not enough to progress past the second warp room. We need crystals and gems from those same levels. In previous Crash games, crystals were the base collectible that we got from just playing through the level normally, and gems were awarded for finding alternate routes or by breaking all crates in a level. Here, crystals and gems are awarded for beating each minigame with a handicap. Some are easy, some are a nightmare. Here's the first one we went for, the gem challenge for Beach Ball, the second warp room ball level. Health is now shared between teammates. We start with 18, they start with 30. This one's not too bad. Gems usually add time limits or harder score requirements. Crystals usually add new mechanics to the minigames. Crystal challenges are actually kind of cool in that sense. They even change the background of the arena so they feel less lazy. This challenge in particular makes it so that there's always a protective barrier up for one of the opposite team's characters. It's a little harder but manageable. For Tilt Panic, the ice level, the gem challenge is a time attack, and it's not too bad. The crystal makes the platform tilt erratically, but that affects the opposite team as much as it does us, so it's fine. Space Bash is also a time attack for the gem. The crystal takes away our ability to pick up and throw crates, but we can still kick them. The stage also looks really cool. It takes place at night and has an Egyptian theme based on Crash Warped. Polar Panic, the bear level from Warp 1, was also really easy, as was Jungle Bash, both time trials. Then we did Pogo Painter and that was it. Not a fan of having to go redo a bunch of shit we've already done, but whatever. Let's go see what that boss is about.
You are progressing very well. More challenges lie ahead in the next warp room. Show us you are worthy of them by defeating the mechanical bears.
Whoa, the plot keeps getting deeper and deeper. The boss uses the ice platform gameplay style, and it's an entirely new character, the creatively named Bearminator. He comes out of nowhere, but it's cool that there's a new character in this game that's not the monkey. And a polar bear with a sailor cap riding a submarine is pretty cool. The fight itself is similar to the first one in that it starts with us having to get rid of a few minor enemies. In this case, they're little mechanical dogs that'll shoot a missile we have to dodge first, and then will try pushing us off the platform. After dealing with them, a missile spawns and we can use it to aim at and hit the boss, or at least try to if you're the monkey. Time for Tiny to save the day. As the fight progresses, Bearminator will blow up parts of the platform and more robot dogs will show up. Man, this guy's good. Not gonna lie, this fight is pretty cool. Credit where credit is due. I wish we didn't have to replay the same minigame like 5 times to get to it, but it's pretty cool. Dude, what the fuck is wrong with Tiny's mouth? It's fucking gross. I wonder what the N stands for. Well, the way this works should be clear at this point. This is the ball level. The gimmick this time around is engine showing up every once in a while and shooting balls everywhere. It hurts everyone equally, so it shouldn't matter too much. There are also these force field power-ups that show up at the corners of the arena, and they repel the balls. The physics are pretty good actually. Whenever one shows up, it's a race to get to it before the other player. This was the first time we lost the trophy challenge. Turns out the monkey really sucks at this. Tiny was getting legitimately mad at him because he kept scoring goals on him instead of the opposite team. And so I, God Gamer, had to come in and save the playthrough. Witness my unparalleled abilities. I call this move the hit the ball with the side that's pointing to the enemy. Yeah, I know. Impressive. The game starts getting noticeably harder with Warp Room 3. The AI characters actually start fighting back. We failed the trophy challenge again in the polar bear level, but the pogo and block throwing levels were easy. For now. Foreshadowing. People argue about what Aku Aku says in the platforming games. Fuck that. I want to know what Embryo is saying here. There's another tank level very similar to the previous one, and another new level type, making for a total of 6 in this warp room. And it's one of those terrible top-down racing minigames. Man, I've always hated these. There's one in Kirby's Air Ride. No wonder everyone only ever plays the other mode from that game. It's a racing game with a fixed camera. You point the car in a direction and accelerate. I personally find it to be extremely confusing, and so does the monkey. Good thing only Tiny has to be good at the game for it to count as a victory. Foreshadowing. Oh good. It's arbitrarily inflating game duration time. We're doing the race level first. The gem just comes down to winning in 1 minute with a 2-point handicap. Since Rillaroo sucks anyway, what we did here was let Tiny run the laps while he tried to slow down the opposite team, which worked pretty well. Teamwork. Cool. The crystal was a different matter entirely. The objective is to win without ever being hit by a rocket, which is actually quite difficult. The strategy this time around was to have Rilla constantly throw himself off the cliff so as to not be hit by the missiles, while Tiny tried to dodge and win the race. Took a few tries. Then we went for the gem and Snow Bash, the block throwing level. This one was the first real roadblock. 2 words. Ice physics. The time limit is ridiculous. 30 seconds. It comes down to luck really, there's no other way to put it. Took us 26 fucking minutes to beat. Each match takes 30 seconds at most, mind you. I'll let you do the math. This shit wasn't play tested. We need to hit multiple TNT crates on the opposite team, hope they run into nitros, hope they don't run away constantly, and hope they get hit by the penguin that spins around the arena. All of that while dealing with the ice physics. It got to the point where it wasn't even worth hitting them with anything that wouldn't deal max damage because the invulnerability timer took so long compared to the time we had available that just not doing enough damage in one attack basically meant we wouldn't have enough time to get their health to 0. This also meant that TNT spawns, which are random by the way, would make or break an attempt. After like 10 minutes of this, we could tell if we even had a chance by the crate spawns at the moment the level loaded. Painful, just painful. If you're not going for 100%, this is definitely a challenge to skip. I wish we knew this beforehand. The crystal challenge is a joke in comparison. Just makes the slippery ice even more slippery, whatever. For the pogo level, it was the opposite. The gem challenge was nothing, just winning a level that was already very easy with a handicap. The crystal was a nightmare. In this level, Ripper Roo from the first game would occasionally enter the arena and leave a trail of TNT tiles that would explode in a few seconds, briefly stunning anyone caught in the blast. It was honestly so inconsequential I didn't even bother to mention it before. Now he randomly leaves nitro tiles behind that'll kill us us and end the level if we're caught in a 3x3 area around them. There's no real way to tell where they're going to be exactly, and sometimes Ripperoo will just put one right in front of us and there's no realistic way to avoid it. Sometimes he'll encircle us. It's terrible. Beating the other team is not even a concern, it's about survival. We have to preemptively avoid Ripperoo by trying to stay as far away from him as possible as he circles the arena, and that's the most we can do. Then it comes down to getting lucky. If we can avoid every nitro title that's avoidable, and not get fucked by the game deciding to put us in an unwinnable position for 1 minute and 30 seconds, we win. Another absolutely shit challenge. The ice platform level was fine. The gem is a time trial, but it's nothing compared to the one with the penguin. The crystal takes away our ability to save ourselves from falling, but it's not too bad either. A welcome break, but it won't last. We decided to go back to the ball level at this point. The gem challenge is another slight handicap, but it was fine. The crystal, however, is pretty fucking hard. When Engine spawns in the middle for this one, he'll only shoot balls at our team. It's very chaotic, but I'm not gonna lie, I kind of like these levels. I don't know what it is, they have a way to really make me focus. I get into a kind of flow state, I guess, and it feels really good to quickly defend against multiple balls coming in your direction. So for this one, I personally enjoy the challenge. That being said, this particular one is extremely random. Engine can simply decide to throw multiple balls in patterns that are actually impossible to defend, and if he does that too many times, it's over. Look at this amazing gameplay with only 1 point left versus 4 and Engine shooting away. Monkey saves the day again. I don't have to tell you it was me playing here.
Only our most challenging games remain for you in the final warp room.
Whoa, are you okay, Aku?
Master your skills in the tanks to gain access to them.
You have anything to say, Uka? No? Okay then. Boss time. This one's a tank level, and it has two distinct phases. First we have to slowly demolish this huge control tower by blowing up a bunch of weapons for each level. Once the tower is gone, the Komodo brothers from Crash 2 will come out in their own tanks. This is a checkpoint, thank god, so Ripperoo can still contribute after being utterly destroyed in the first phase. Another surprisingly decent fight. Well, despite a few high points, overall this warp room was pretty painful if I'm honest. I wonder how much worse it'll get. Most Crash games have 5 main warp rooms and 1 post-game warp room. For Crash Badsh the credits roll after the 4th, so we'll be fighting the final boss soon. I'm not gonna go into much detail here for the trophies, you should get how it goes at this point. Ball, ice platform, pogo, block throwing, tank, race. They're all very manageable before the gem and crystal challenges. The bulk of the time to beat this game really is spent at revisits. We do get a new minigame type here. This is Ring Ding, and it's about balloons. Each player is assigned a color. Each balloon with that color we pop gives us a point. The team with the most points when the timer reaches 0 wins. It's pretty fucking boring and the AI is kind of nasty at this point in the game. We'll get into more detail when we come back here for the gem, and trust me, this is going to be really bad. For now, I'll just say it's not very good. Anyway, we're gonna need to pay our playtime taxes to Eurocom before we're allowed to fight the final boss, so let's go look for those MacGuffins. I won't go through every last one in detail, these are mostly the same minigames over and over again after all. Let's just go over some of the more notable ones. I think I remember the Warp 4 racing level gem or crystal challenge being absolutely disgusting, so that's a nope. I hate those levels anyway. Drain Bash, the box throwing minigame for Warp 4, has a time trial jam challenge similar to the one from Warp 3. It's even tighter, only 25 seconds, but for this one we get weapons from special purple crates that can help a lot. This does mean, however, that the whole thing comes down to luck again. Not getting enough missiles or laser guns means you lose and that's it. Another frustrating RNG check. Then there's the gem challenge for the balloon level, and this was easily the most painful thing we had to go through in this playthrough. We took, no exaggeration, 40 fucking minutes to get this one. 40 fucking minutes. That's more than 1/10 of our total playtime, counting the many loading screens, by the way. Those are fucking terrible, don't think I forgot about them. This might be turning into a theme. The problem here is that the whole thing comes down to an RNG check. There's no way around it, you either get lucky with power-ups or you'll lose. It's another time trial with a handicap, and it's really poorly balanced. We have 1 minute 25 to get from 40 points to 0. Each balloon is -1 point and the opposite team starts with only 30 points. So we can either lose by timeout or from the enemy team reaching 0 before us. The former is far more common, but anyone trying this is sure to experience both. Just trying to jump around collecting the right color balloons is not nearly enough. There are two random mechanics that come into play here. Black balloons that have a chance to pop every other balloon on screen without granting any points to anyone, or to turn every balloon to the color of whoever popped it for a few seconds. Occasionally purple boxes spawn that can contain one of two power-ups. One's a pair of shoes that increase our speed. This one's not all that useful. What we want is the vacuum cleaner that sucks up all the balloons on screen and puts them right above us, so all we have to do is jump to pop them. What we're looking for is to pop a black balloon that turns everything our color, then get a vacuum cleaner. Just getting the combo is not enough though. If someone on the opposite team reaches us and performs a melee attack, we lose the power-up, and they are relentless. Even getting the combo and maintaining it for the duration of the black balloon's effect is not a guaranteed win. We need to get it at least once, play perfectly, and get lucky with balloon spawns. What I will say is this requires good coordination if playing co-op. If one player gets a black balloon, the other has to pay attention not to get another one and pop everything. This doesn't really excuse anything though. This level didn't feel rewarding at all to beat. All we felt when we were done was relief that it was finally over. Skyballs was a simple handicap game. Thankfully, my friend who sucked at the game left during the balloon fiasco, so GigaChad me was in control for the whole thing. Unfortunately, I lost the footage when we beat the level, so we'll just have to make do with his artist's impression of how it went down. The crystal challenge here is actually kind of interesting. I like the new gray background, but what changes gameplay wise is that now the balls will occasionally turn red. Touching a red ball is an instant death, so on top of reflecting, we now have to dodge certain balls instead. I enjoyed this one. I already said this is my favorite minigame style, so it should come as no surprise. That's basically what I found worth noting about this cleanup phase. After wasting enough time for Eurocom not to have to deal with critics complaining about game length, we can move on to the final boss. And guess who it is? Can't be Cortex, he's a playable character. Can't be Uka Uka, as you can be on his side. Some new villain? Nah, it's just fucking Nitrous Oxide from CTR who's here with no explanation whatsoever. Now that I think about it, what even were those other bosses? Why were they here? Wasn't the point here that Aku Aku's and Uka Uka's teams would compete in these games? Never mind the fact that Tiny and Rilla were supposed to be on opposite teams. Again, zero regards for the plot, the stupid children will buy it anyway, I'm sure. Well, it worked. This is... well, it's terrible, frankly. Remember the Cortex fight from Crash 2 everyone hates? Well, picture that, but worse in every conceivable way. In fact, if you want to enjoy that fight, just play this before and you'll certainly find something to love there. Where to begin? The music is lifted straight from Dangle Dial's boss fight from Crash Warped. Yeah, it's a good song, but really? Couldn't you bother coming up with an original song for the fucking final boss of your game? Also, how does it even fit? That song was for a fight with a mutant animal with a flamethrower in the Antarctic. This one is with an alien in outer space. Well, who cares what the song was written for? It sounds cool, just throw it in there. You see what I mean? Everything about this game just screams I don't give a shit, they'll buy it anyway. I'm sure the budget wasn't great, but come on. If you don't have some passion for your own game, then why would you expect me to? Then there's the gameplay itself. Inverted controls. I hate inverted controls. I understand that's how most games did it back then for Flight or whatever, but it makes it borderline unplayable for me. It's not like camera options hadn't been invented. It's just that nobody bothered. The stage is a linear on-rails shooter with terrible hitboxes, but the dumbest thing about it is you can't go through your teammate's hitbox. You're just gonna bump on each other until one of you dies. In the end, we just agreed that Rilla would be on the corner waiting to die, trying not to get in the way, and Tiny would be the one actually trying to get through the fucking piece of shit. After the terrible space section, the fight turns into one of the ball minigames. Thankfully, as with the Komodo brothers fight, we get a checkpoint here. What's weird though is that when Tiny dies and Rilla comes back, both characters share one side of the arena, and again collision is enabled between them. You can probably imagine how awkward this plays. For defending, it's really good, but Oxide starts mixing in missiles and red balls from that crystal challenge that kills instantly, and dodging those gets very confusing when you're confined to one overcrowded line. Oxide is also very good at deflecting those balls, almost too good. Scoring feels like luck. Oh hey, they stole this background from Warp 2. Where was I? Oh yeah, in a way it fits. What better way to win Crash Badsh than with a frustrating, unoriginal, unpolished, poorly thought out RNG check? This might as well describe the whole game.
Well, Uka Uka, it seems we have a problem. A team made of both good and of evil has won.
This will not do! Stop colluding with that puny enemy and get back to the arena. You must crush your teammate. Evil must succeed. I, the great Uka Uka, must succeed.
Well, I'll admit this is kinda cool. Since ours was technically a mixed good and evil team, we now have to duke it out one final time to decide whether Uka Uka or Aku Aku wins. This takes the form of one final block arena minigame with no gimmicks. This is also where I learned Tiny can throw blocks a lot farther than Rillaru. Why would anyone pick this useless monkey? And with the tiebreaker over, the credits roll. No more cutscenes. Tiny won and was on Aku Aku's team, so I expected to hear from him again, but nope. There's quite a lot of post-game here, but we're not going for 200% this time. This would have to be a much longer video to justify that, and honestly, I feel like this is already pushing how long anyone would be willing to listen to me complaining about fucking Crash Badsh. Maybe some other day. Like Warped, Crash Badsh has a post-game warp room with a bunch of new levels. Surprise, surprise, they're all shit, and not worth the time and effort required to unlock them. Now, where have I seen this before? There are only 4 levels of each type in total, and so the 4 level types that were available from the start aren't represented here. So no ball or arena levels, the only 2 good ones. Instead we get 1 tank level, 2 racing levels, and 3 levels of the same theme as the one with the balloons. Although to be fair, they're all pretty different from one another. All shit still. I'll let you decide if it's worth chasing all those MacGuffins in order to unlock them. If somehow after all that you still haven't had enough of Crash Badsh, you can go chase the relics. Yeah, relics. Like the ones in Warped. They're not time trials here. Instead, they require us to beat the levels 2 or 3 times in a row against the highest difficulty CPUs. It's very hard and only for bragging rights, so be my guest if you want to do those. I'll gladly be a Crash Badsh scrub. Then there's the multiplayer. You can go select any of the minigames and play with up to 4 players, but as a kid I only ever played adventure mode, even with friends. There's not enough variety of minigames or depth to justify constantly replaying these. What I imagine would happen if I had 3 friends over and we were forced at gunpoint to play Crash Badsh is we would only play the ball and crate games a few times and get super bored super quick. You might have noticed I'm not the biggest fan of this game. Well, to be honest, I have a lot of nostalgic feelings for it, so I can't say I hate it personally, but I'm trying to look at this objectively and I just don't think it's a good game. If anything, I think it's extremely boring, uninteresting. If I hadn't played this as a kid, I don't think I would have found any fun whatsoever to be had here. And if this didn't have Crash assets slapped on top of it, I would have never played it as a kid in the first place. And this is what Crash Badsh is ultimately. It's the video game equivalent of printing a cartoon character on a cereal box to try to sell it to children. The cereal has nothing to do with the cartoon, but having that image there makes the child associated with something they love. Crash Badsh could have been the same game with a different IP associated with it. None of the gameplay would have to change, but then it wouldn't have sold. There's nothing Crash about this game if you look past the surface. The bosses show up out of nowhere and have no personality, though admittedly I think Barminator is cool. Characters are little more than props. The identity is only skin deep. I know this is a spin-off, but look at CTR. That game is a kart racer, but it has so much soul, so much identity. It's full to the brim with fan service for Crash fans. It feels like a Crash game. Crash Badsh feels like a cash grab. It's not the worst Crash game. It's not terrible, it's just painfully mediocre. Hey, thanks for watching. If you're looking for something else to watch, then give my other videos a go. Remember to like and subscribe if you haven't already. Yeah, that's it. Bye.